Iboilahu, they asked the question. Hai layitin layachseru. This, the word hai means this, layitin. This layitin. Layitin means you shall not place, which we said in our Mishnah, which I underlined, layitin. So these words, layitin, doesn't mean layachseru, that you shouldn't return it on Shabbos. Ava lishais, but to let it wait there. Mashin, you may let it wait. Afal pi she'ena garuf ve'ena katam, even though it's not shoveled and it's not covered, which means that in the Mishnah we said that if a stove is fueled by mark, which is the sesame shells and pieces, ube'etzim, or with wood, you're not allowed to put a pot on that stove unless you shoveled out the coals or until you covered the coals with ash. That's only referring to lo yachzer, that on Shabbos you're not allowed to put that pot on that fire unless you've shoveled it and covered it with ash. Avalishes mashin, but to leave it there initially, that would be no problem, even if it's not shoveled or covered. Umani, and which opinion is that? Chananya, that's the opinion of Chananya. Now we have a brisa that says Tanya, because we learned in a brisa. Chananya says Kol shu kamaychel ben drusoi, anything that's cooked enough for that's edible for Ben Drusoi, who was a robber, who was always running, and he would cook his food only 1/3 according to Rashi, or half according to the Rambam. So any food that's that cooked, which is the smallest amount cooked to make it edible, that food, you're allowed to let it wait on an oven, which means put it on before Shabbos and let it continue to wait there. Even if it's not shoveled or covered. So that would mean that our Mishnah, if our Mishnah is going according to Chananya, so when it says lo yitain in our Mishnah, it's referring to that when you come on Shabbos and you want to take the pot off, you're not allowed to put the pot back on unless it's shoveled out. But to leave it there, you don't have to shovel it out. If, let's say, you're only going to take the pot off, you're never going to put the pot back on, you're allowed to use a regular stove that's being heated with wood or with gefes. Or maybe that's not so. Maybe it's more strict. And lishois tanan. That means when it says lo yitain, we learned lishois, that you're not allowed to even leave it there. The igarafikatum. And if it's shoveled or covered, which is referring to the coals, are either shoveled out or covered with ash, then yes, you are allowed to leave a pot there. Eloi, and if it's not shoveled or covered, then you're not allowed to put the pot there, which means even Erev Shabbos, you're never allowed to leave a pot on the fire unless it's shoveled out or covered. And for sure, you're not allowed to return the pot unless the coals have been shoveled out. Now, there's a question mark here, but that's because we have two options of, does the Mishnah mean lo yitain, that you're not allowed to put it there, you're not allowed to put it back onto the fire on Shabbos, or does it mean, the second approach doesn't mean that you're not allowed to even put it there on Erev Shabbos unless the coals are shoveled out, and for sure you're not allowed to put it back on Shabbos, lahachzer, unless the coals have been shoveled out.